And welcome to the super fun, awesome, happy time moon show. My name is Gabor.
Welcome. I'm Alex. This is the Polymoon from
Yes,
Meris.
that's my moon. Get
Nice.
it?
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
I really got it.
Yeah.
Really
I'm funny.
fun delay with some lots of stuff going on.
Way lots of stuff. Strap yourselves in, folks, and there's chapters that
Please.
I have to set up.
Please hit like and subscribe on the video. Give a thumbs up, ding the bell, and comments, questions below.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. So the setup today, we're going stereo, so you can hear both sides do its thing.
Yep.
Straight into UAD amp sim, which is a plexi set fairly clean, and that's the setup.
Yes, and big thank you to the awesome people at Studio Connections here in Australia, who are the Australian Meris distributors, for sending this out to us.
Very cool.
So, the Polymoon.
Yep.
Whew, okay. It's a delay, but it's a delay with many modulation options. They can have early in the delay stages, late in the delay stages, unrelated to the delay stages, and more.
Cool. I've only played it very briefly, so
Yep.
let's dive right in.
Okay, so like with any Meris stuff, you have multiple layers of knobbage. So let's just look at...
Speaking of,
Yeah?
we should link to the auto bit.
Autobit Junior, yeah.
Yeah.
We did a video on that here a little while ago.
Lots of layers on that too.
Lots of layers. So let's look first, right, at what you can see, not the secondary functions at the moment. So let's just look at it as a delay, right? So you've got delay time, delay feedback, and mix, which is basically what you always kind of get with delays. Let's just start with that. Oh, and then you have basically an on-off switch and a tap switch. Right? Let's not worry about the buttons yet, what they do, and anything else. Let's just start off. Do you want to start?
Sure.
Let's just start off
Yeah,
looking at it just as a straight delay
Okay.
and what it does. So
So the top row is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, so-
Time feedback to mix.
we're going basically that all the way counterclockwise. So all wet to all dry, right? Feedback, you go all the way down, one repeat. You go all the way up. It's kind of infinite, but doesn't self-oscillate. And it does this cool thing, because it's digital, where it kind of does the glitchy thing, not the... What?
Pitch
The
shift,
pitch shifty
yeah.
thing. It does this glitchy thing, which is kind of cool. Anyway, so that's the feedback. And then you've got the time, which if you go all the way down, it's barely audible. And if you go all the way up, it does that. I don't know if it even really says how fast it is. I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't think that ever really matters to me with delays. I mean, that's the most basic top three functions, right? Then you have this multiply thing. So multiply basically means it's kind of like multiplying the tap division. So you get multiple echoes per echo.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So like at the moment it's on one. Now, this is where the stereo thing comes into. So once you go to multiples, it starts getting a stereo image happening. So listen to this with good headphones or with speakers. So we're on 2 now. You go to 3.
Definite ping pong.
It's like a triplet feel. It's just a kind of subdivision, but it gives you also stereo spread. 4.
It's almost like adding tape heads.
Yeah, it is that sort of thing. I mean, what do they actually call it? The number of delayed taps added to the output. That's what the actual what it says in the manual.
Yeah.
Then we've got 5. And lastly 6. So let's just go down like, I don't know, let's go 3 triplets. It always sounds nice. And it gives it a kind of stereo vibe too. Actually, before we do that, let's turn it off. Now let's go to dimensions. So dimensions is basically a thing. What do they actually call it? What does it actually do? Dimensions sets the dimension amount. Well, there you go. It smears and sustains the delayed tap reflections. So if you think of what the difference between a delay and a reverb is, right? A delay is a thing where you can hear definite repeats. A reverb is a thing where you have multiple very small delay fragments that come back at different times, and it kind of blends into a reverb. Now you can kind of, by turning the dimension up, what you're doing is you kind of almost smudging it into a reverb. So I'll turn it up as you're playing. See what I mean? It almost turns it into a reverb. So it takes the repeats, and it kind of turns them into little bits, and then kind of separates the time of them a little bit. So you have all these different reflections you hear that almost turn into a reverb.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah?
Yeah, good.
So that's what that does. Now, so for example, if you combine it, if you put some of the multiply on, let's say let's make it triplets. Strum a chord. It sort of has this lovely kind of, when you strum chords, it has this kind of lovely bloom to it, but it doesn't get in the way.
Okay.
And if you play single notes, you get that kind of, you hear that, or like staccato stuff, you hear that kind of smeared. It's sort of smeared. It's a good word for it. It smears it.
Yeah, cool.
It's lovely. Those two turns it into this massive ambient thing. Now, dynamics. Dynamics is basically the modulation. So there's a flanger there, right? One of the modulations. There are multiple modulations. This particular one is a flanger. So now I've turned all this off again. We're just back to just a normal delay, right? Let's add some dynamics.
Let's do that.
So that
I just remembered I'm in drop D. So
you're in drop D. Okay,
chords don't work.
There you go. There you go. But it's sort of it goes to quite flangy.
Sure.
So now, of course, with secondary functions, you can set the modulation speed and depth and all that sort of stuff, which we'll get into. We're just, like I said, we're just looking at the first functions that you can see that are there, right? Now, you have this, with Meris pedals always, the little light that lights up that tells you that the pedal's on and off is also a switch, right? It's a button. So with this one, when you hold that button in, and that gives you the secondary functions.
Yep.
With this one, you now can turn on a phaser modulation.
Okay.
So we're going, first time it's set to slow. Now slow, it's very subtle. It's a stereo barber pole phaser with a fixed speed of 0.1 hertz. So it's a really slow phaser.
Okay, let's try that. F chord.
Now you'll start hearing it. So once I go to this now, synced phase.
Yeah.
So synced is synced to a quarter note of the delay time.
Ah, sure. That's cool.
So it's set to whatever, it kind of goes with that, right? Now if you have synced and slow on, it now goes to a whole note of the delay time.
Gotcha.
So for every 4 of those. and so on and so on.
That's
so,
pretty.
So you've got a flanger modulation, you've got phaser modulation. Now, okay, so that's the first functions, right?
With you so far.
Now let's look at secondary functions. So one of the things you could do, for example, with a feedback knob, the feedback also becomes a filter. In the center at 12 o'clock, it's neutral.
Yep.
Now, so you got to push that button and hold that button and twist it. Now, as you turn this, it's a darker, so it's basically a low pass filter.
Sure.
So you can have your delay a little bit darker. If you turn it clockwise, it gets brighter, basically.
Cool.
Cool. So you've got
It's very pretty.
secondary functions. You've got it. You can make it a bit darker. I quite often prefer it a little bit darker, so we can set it a little bit darker. Now, other secondary functions. Now, you have two modulation types. Are not really enough, are they? you need at least four. So what we're gonna do, what they do now is they have two more modulation types.
Oh yeah.
Now, one is called what they call early modulation, which comes on the early delay taps. The second one is called late modulation, which happens on the late delay taps. So the way I hear it is, it's almost like the early one, as soon as you play it, you hit a modulation. With the other one, you hear it in the trails.
Yeah.
That's sort of more the difference. Now, that's the time knob now. It's the secondary function on that. Now, with this, you turn it, and as you turn it, it does different stuff, which we get to here. And I might even show a photo of it, because there's tons of it. So you can have, it's divided, that knob is divided into 16 slots now, right? This knob. So if you go all the way that way, so with this, actually, let's turn all this other stuff off. Let's just have it just as a normal delay so you can actually hear what happens. So if you turn this all the way counterclockwise, it's off. And sounds like this. Let's maybe turn the delay up, the feedback up a bit so we can hear it a bit, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, if you go to number one, which is kind of hard to kind of find where it is, you should have slow speed and shallow depth modulation. Then it should go to moderate speed and shallow depth. You can hear there's like a click going on there. Then you go to moderate speed and wide depth somewhere here. Then you go into fast speed and wide depth.
Yeah.
That's lovely, isn't it? That sounds really, really nice.
It's a bit good.
Then you go to fast speed and exaggerated depth.
Like the sound of that.
But that's only number 6. We've got another 10 to go. Then you've got FM modulation at 24 hertz. 48 hertz, and now 96 hertz.
That's fantastic.
Well, you know what? That's probably the next one already. That's probably 96 hertz. So this is now, it goes down a major second and up a major second.
That'll take that, singers. I don't know.
Or song.
Yeah, or Western music.
Then we go on.
I know what that is. French siren.
French siren. Yeah, well, yeah, siren's on. Then we go an octave down
Yep.
and a minor third up.
Octave down.
It's really hard to tell where it is because there's no notches or anything. You kind of got to find where it is. Let's go. What is it? Number 13, which is about there somewhere. Is tremolo, mute, and perfect fourth up. That's where it starts getting really cool. I reckon a lot of those, but the last one is octave down, octave up.
Yeah.
And then you kind of add that multiply to it, and you add a little bit of that dimension to it, and add a little bit of dynamics, and you're in this
Space Town.
It's gorgeous.
You know.
And then,
Yeah.
if that's not enough, you've got all of that again, but in a late modulation. So if I turn all this off now,
Wow. Jeez.
right? So we're just going back to normal delay. So we're back just now.
Might go into the future.
Normal delay.
Okay.
Now you can do all of that, exactly the same thing with this knob. But it's in a late modulation. So now it's more on the trails as opposed to...
Sure.
It's almost like if the other one was before the delay. This is sort of almost like in the trails. So if you... You know what I mean? The other one is sort of, it almost cuts the delay off. This one, it just sort of cuts it, before it hits the delay. So if I go, for example, that octave up, octave down, same thing, but now it's on the trails. See what I mean? It's not instantly.
Yep.
So you play it and it's on the trail. If I do it on this one, it has a slightly different sound to it.
Yep.
So you can do both, right? So you can have it early or late, or both at the same time. Do you want to have a second up and down and that at the same time?
I want that weird tremolo thing. What was that? The tremolo with the fourth or something? Perfect fourth?
Oh, God, I got to find what it is again.
Just to...
13. So that's about, yeah. Do you want that early or late?
Late.
Late? That's about there.
So
And then what do you want early?
You surprised me.
Just got one of those there. There you go.
Here we go. Brace yourself. You might go into the future.
You might take on another form. It gets wild. It's pretty. It gets pretty interesting. More secondary functions. So we've looked at those two.
Yep.
We looked at this one.
Yep.
Okay, now the mix.
Yep.
All it is the delay level. So you can actually change the level of the delay as well, make it louder and quieter. That's boring.
Yep.
Now, the flanger, the dynamic side, you can change it. So you can have it as an envelope up, envelope down, or as an LFO. Because, I mean, why not? So, again, this is now the secondary function for this. So if we're going, and I believe, hang on, there's another page here, because I got to look at this, because it's complicated. But the thing is, then once you set it up, so you can actually, so Meris makes an external 4-button switch, so you can store 4 presets. They also make an external TRS to MIDI converter, so you can actually hook it up via MIDI, and I believe you have 16 internal memory storage spots. So you can store 16 presets. So you do this once, store it. If you like use a loop switcher and stuff like that, you can do all that sort of stuff. Now, with this secondary function, so let's introduce just to a standard kind of delay.
Yes.
Let's introduce some flanger, which sounds like this. So you can hear it, it's there, yeah? But now what we want to do is, and I have no idea what it's set to at the moment. So if we now click this and basically, if you, let's say, point it at about 9 o'clock, now it's set to envelope down.
Okay.
So envelope, I believe it depends on your picking as well, so your dynamics. Now, if we go 12 o'clock, that's envelope up.
Okay.
So before, I think envelope down means
Bill.
yeah, whereas now it's much more audible. So it comes in with your picking, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you set it to 3 o'clock, now we have an LFO going.
Get lost for an afternoon there.
Now,
Yes, hello.
but we want to be able to control the LFO speed, of course,
obviously.
as you do, which is where the secondary functions of the dynamics control comes in. So this sets the, and it also, in the envelope mode, sets the sensitivity of the envelope. You can set it with that as well. Okay. So you can go really slow, and hang on, I'll turn it up so you can hear it. And hang on, let's go back to just normal delay without extra bitty bops. So it's very slow. If you turn this up now, So you can set how fast or how slow you want that modulation to go. You can also then set the sensitivity of the envelope with that same control as a secondary function. But now, what if that flanger isn't quite flangery enough for you?
Is there something we can do about that? Like, can you help?
There is something we can do about this because we can turn it into a negative feedback dynamic flanger by holding this down and pushing that. And now
magic happens.
So it's basically one is a more subtle flanger that you can almost turn into just subtle chorusy modulation. The other one is an in-your-face flanger. Wow. But now, what if...
I'll lie down after this.
Yeah, it's... There you go. The little slow light lights up when that happens. What if you want to, as you're playing, all of a sudden, you want to be able to slow down your repeats? So you're playing along, right?
Yep.
You've got all this stuff. You do, I don't know, this. And it sounds like that. But what if you, while you're playing, want to go to half speed?
Ooh.
Can
we do that?
Yes. All we're doing is we're going to hold down the tap function, and then it does that.
Oh.
I mean, talk about an overachiever.
Yeah.
But now...
Yeah.
No, well, that's pretty much it. But now, also you have the tap switch has a secondary function where you can set it from quarter notes to dotted eighth notes, your tap. So you can change it to the tap. But now, okay, you can do all that, right? You can hook up either their 4-button foot switch that they sell to store presets on. You can hook up a TRS to MIDI converter, which then you can store stuff on, you know, internally via loop switches or MIDI controllers, whatever you want to do. But what if you really, really, really like one sound and you want to, while you're playing, morph from one sound to another sound?
That'd be cool.
How could you possibly do that? Well, one of the ways you could possibly do that is by connecting an expression pedal. We have an El Cheapo expression pedal here.
Yeah.
That's the brand called El Cheapo.
The finest plastic we could buy.
Finest plastic you can buy.
Yep.
And the other cool thing is, as far as I gather, as soon as you plug it in, it remembers the last settings. So this is now different. So, but all you do is you set it to heel position, put the knobs where you want to do, including all the secondary functions, everything. You set it where you want it to be, you move it into toe position, you change everything in whatever way you want it to change, and it morphs from one to the other, and it remembers it.
That's
so
fantastic.
It's now that, as soon as so it remembers what the last settings were of an expression pedal that was plugged in. As soon as I unplug it, it just goes back to this.
That's fantastic.
But how cool is that? So, I mean, I know this is a long video, but holy moly, there's a lot going on in that thing.
Yeah.
It's massive amount of stuff, like all Meris stuff.
Yeah.
And if you want soundscapey stuff, I mean, that stuff is, this is it.
Like, we haven't played a lot. You've obviously heard all the sounds, but I'm sure we could You get lost in it for 14 hours. And
I'm going to
still
link
not-
to Stefan at ThePedalZone because I'm sure he did a video of this. 'Cause this is so him.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure he did a video way better
yeah.
than ours. Hey, Stefan.
There you go.
Watch that video. I'll link to it down in the description as well because he will do a much better job than we do.
Yeah.
But it's just ambient insanity, this thing. And just the amount of stuff you can do with it, all the different modulations, everything. It's just insane. And all within
That tiny little white.
quite a small pedal.
Container,
That
yeah.
looks kind of cool too.
Does, yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Is there anything that comes near it? Does the H9 come near it?
I guess you can do similar stuff maybe with the H9. But the H9,
But then you need, like...
don't have as much modulation and stuff all in one.
Yeah.
It's
It's a different animal, isn't it?
yeah, it's a different thing. I mean, you have great reverbs and all that stuff on the H9 too, but that as a compact all in one thing.
Slightly out of its own. As far as
Yeah,
I can think.
yeah. I mean,
There's other amazing...
I know
small format
Meris and
digital reverbs.
Strymon are somewhat related because
Sure.
I think the people that started Meris used to work for Strymon and all that sort of stuff. And possibly some of the Strymon stuff may come, but also not. I don't think.
It's different.
It
Again,
doesn't have quite as much in
Like-
it as this thing does.
I've got the Ecolution, which is a great delay, but it doesn't go into this kind of soundscapey stuff like
No.
that. It sort of sticks to really lovely trad type delays.
And I mean, you can really, I mean, just the thought of, you're playing, you set it, you have an expression pedal, you set it
Yeah.
on, even without like storing presets, you have it on a normal delay in the heel position, put it in toe to go into Lala World, and just that. I mean, I think it's quite a special pedal. It's pretty cool.
What do you think? Comments below. Do you have one? Would you like to give us one?
Should I give it back to Studio Connections, or should I say I lost it?
Yeah.
Can't find it. It was in the mail for sure.
You know, there's...
That Australia Post.
Again, it lost my pedal again.
It lost my pedals, guitars, amps, all the stuff constantly. No, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's for that soundscapey stuff. There isn't much else out there that does anything even remotely like it, in my opinion.
Without having to dive into menus or craziness.
Yeah, that can do that much in one without you having really to do anything. It just can switch. Super simple. I mean, you have multiple layers. I did use the thing, the manual to remember what does what, because there's a lot to it. But I think the more you use it, you kind of start, which bits you want to control.
Sure.
You don't necessarily need to control everything all the time anyway. I mean, maybe you don't want to change the envelope on the flanger from up to down. I mean, but, you want to change a filter, you want to change them, there's things that you probably want to use more often than others. And anyway.
Depending on the music you're making.
Yeah. So big thank you to the awesome people at Studio Connections in Australia, the Australian Meris distributors, for sending this out to us. Check out some more Meris videos. Have we done any other Meris videos?
Just the odd
Just
bit.
the odd bit, I think. And then maybe a reverb of some sort coming up at some stage too.
It's over there. Hey, thanks for hanging. There's links below to Instagram, Facebook, and a podcast. Please check them out if you've got some time.
Yeah.
That'd be bloody cool of you. And
Yes.
thanks for hanging. We'll see you soon. Catch you.